Hi guys, please like, share and subscribe and contact this number if you want full lectures of any CM or CS subjects. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into the last topic of this chapter. So far we have been considering the force of interest, that is delta, to be a constant, right? So what we are assuming is that force of interest is the nominal interest rate or nominal rate of discount compounded infinitely, right? It is infinitely compounded, that is it is compounded very regularly. You can think of it like this. Okay, so you are adding this force of interest part at every moment. At every moment you are adding a small part, and that rate is force of interest. Okay, now this rate that you are adding to the sum is a constant, right? But it is not necessary for it to be a constant. It can also be a function of time. It can happen so that the force of interest increases or decreases as time passes. So it just becomes, instead of being this constant delta, it becomes a variable dependent on time, that is delta t. Okay, so now what is delta t? Let's think about delta t. Okay, so basically what you had was, you had your present value, right? Or let's call it the value at time t1. Let's, in order to make it a bit a bit generalized, let's consider that you have the value of an investment at time t1 as vt1, and at time t2 this just becomes vt2. Okay, and this is basically the rate of growth. This delta t is the rate of growth, or you can call it the instantaneous rate of growth, because it is being added every moment, right? Instantaneous rate of growth of Vt, right? So it is just the rate of change of Vt with respect to time, where Vt is your fund value. Okay, that is the amount you have invested, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so this is your fund value, and this is just growing because of interest. And the instantaneous rate, because we are considering an infinitely small period of time, okay, this is the instantaneous rate of growth. Okay, so if I take it more formally, your delta t just becomes the instantaneous rate of change of Vt per pound. Okay, so it's just the per pound rate of change of Vt. So V dash t by, or V prime of t by Vt, right? That's how you can refer to it. Or you can actually call it as the derivative of Vt with respect to time into 1 upon Vt, which can be written as the derivative of the log of Vt, right? This is just the derivative of the log of Vt. Now if you integrate this on both sides, you will just clearly find that, let's integrate it between t1 and t2. Okay, so if you see this, this just becomes the derivative, and the integral can cancel out, and I can just put in the values. So log of Vt, putting in the values t1 and t2 here, right? Integrating from t1 to t2 delta t dt, and now finally this just will be log of v2 minus log of v1. Let's keep on solving the LHS only, which can be written as log of v2 vt2, that is v by vt1, is just equal to integrating from t1 to t2 delta t vt, right? And now on both sides you can put it in the power of exponential. So vt2 by vt1 can just be written as e to the power of integral from t1 to t2 delta t dt. This is your fund growth, or the growth in your money from time t1 to time t2. So this is your fund growth from time t1 to t2. It's just e to the power of integral from t1 to t2 delta t dt. Or this is your accumulation factor. You can also refer it to as your accumulation factor from time t1 to t2, where your force of interest is actually a function of time, right? So when it used to be constant, when delta t was a constant delta, then what would it be? It would just be e to the power of delta into t2 minus t1 is equal to a t1 to t2, right? So when it was just a constant, the accumulation factor was just delta into the time period. This is just the time period, right? Which is what we had seen earlier. It was a specific case of this. When you had a constant delta, this is the specific case. Your accumulation factor becomes this, but the general case is this, when your delta is a function of time, and this is how you find your accumulation factor. So that's how it works. Okay, now let's just take a few questions in order to understand this, and before that you can also see the discounting factor. So your discounting factor v t1 to t2, if I can call that, will be just be e to the power of negative integral from t1 to t2 delta t dt, right? So that's how it works. Okay, let's take this question. The force of interest is just delta t is equal to 0.02 plus 0.01 t. Calculate the accumulated value at time 8 of an investment of 1000 pounds at time 0 and at time 5. Okay, so let's do the second one. I'll do the second one, you can try the first one. Okay, so an investment of 1000 pounds is made at time 5. Okay, so here at time 5 they're making an investment of 1000 pounds, and at time 8 what is the value of this? Okay, what is the accumulated value of this is what is being asked. Okay, so let's see how that works. So if I check the accumulated value, it would just be 1000 into e to the power of integral from 5 to 8 delta t dt, right? This will be my accumulation factor from time 5 to time 8 as we just discussed. So you can just write it as 1000 into e to the power of integrating from 5 to 8 0.02 plus 0.01 t dt. So this just becomes 1000 into e to the power of 0.02 t plus 0.01 t square by 2. In the values we'll put in will be 5 to 8. Okay, so this just becomes 1000 into e to the power of 0.02 into 8 minus 5 plus 0.01 into by 2 into 8 square minus 5 square, right? So that would be our answer. What does this come out to be? This just becomes 1290.46, of course in pounds, right? So that's how you do it. How would you do the first one? The first one, the case was that 1000 was invested at time 0. At time 8, what is the accumulated value? So you just need to accumulate from time 0 to time 8. So it's just 1000 into e to the power of integral from 0 to 8 delta t dt, right? And you can just integrate that, and the accumulated value will be 1616.07, right? pounds obviously. Okay, so that's how you do it. Okay, let's move on now. Okay, so here's another one for you. The force of interest at time t is given by this expression. Calculate the accumulated value at time 10 of an investment of 500 at time 2. Okay, so how does that work? So accumulated value will be equal to 500 is invested at time 2. What is the value at time 10? So we'll take the accumulation factor from time 2 to 10. So 500 into e to the power of integral from so this can be divided into two parts. Okay, from 2 to 10 we know the force of interest is changing at time 5, right? So you'll take from 2 to 5 and then you'll take from 5 to 10, right? So that's how it works. Now let's just take it this way. 500 into e to the power of integral from 2 to 5. I'll just take 0.08 dt. Okay, this is just whatever the value of the force of interest is. Okay, that's what I'm taking. So 0.08 dt plus, or I'll just multiply it here, e to the power of integrating from 5 to 10, 0.13 minus 0.01 dt. Okay, that's how it works. You could have added them, both of them, in the power of exponential only. That's fine only. That's fine as well, because again they're multiplied, means they're added in the power. Okay, so that is right. Okay, point, this is 0 1 t. Okay, so now let's just solve this. So this is 500 into e to the power of 0.08 t, putting the values 2 and 5, plus 0.13 t minus 0.01 by 2 t square, and putting in the values 5 and 10. Now let's put in the values. It just becomes 500 into e to the power of 0.08, 5 minus 2, okay, plus 0.13 into 10 minus 5 minus 0.01 by 2 into 10 square minus 5 square. That's how it will work. So what will this value come out to be? This will just be equal to 836.82. Okay, now let's look at a few questions on present value. This one says delta t is given as follows. Again in two parts. Calculate the present value at time 3 of a payment at time of $500 at time 10. So at time 10 the value is 500 and you have to discount it back to time 3. Okay, this is time 10 and this is time 3. Okay, so how will you do it? You will just take the discounting factor from time 10 to time 3. So v 3 comma 10, right? That will be your discounting factor that you'll have to take. It just becomes 500 into e to the power of integral from, negative integral from 3 to 10 delta t dt. And if I now divide it into two parts, it's just up to 5 and beyond 5. So it just becomes 500 into e to the power of negative, I'll take first from 3 to 5. What is the expression? It is just 0.08 dt, and in the second half you will have from 5 to 10, 0.13 minus 0.01 t dt, right? So that's how it works. And this entire thing will just be negative because it's the discounting factor. So it just becomes 500 times e to the power of negative 0.08 t, putting in the values 3 to 5 and plus 0.13 t minus 0.01 by 2 t square, putting in the values 5 to 10. Okay, now it becomes 500 into e to the power of negative 0.085 minus 3 plus 0.13 10 minus 5 minus 0.005 10 square minus 5 square. Okay, so what does that become? That just becomes, if you will find the value, it will come out to be equal to 323.63, obviously in dollars. Okay, so yeah, that's your answer, and that is how it works. Okay, so yeah, so there is a second part to this question as well. Calculate the annual effective rate of interest that is equivalent to the variable force of interest from time 3 to 10. Okay, so what is the effective rate of interest, constant effective rate of interest that will be equivalent to the variable force of interest from time 3 to 10, right? So basically what they want is that instead of this force of interest which has been paid in two parts from time 3 to 5 at this first given rate, and from time 5 to 10 at this second given rate, okay, what will be the equivalent rate of interest, that is I. So how can I find that? By just equating the accumulation factor. How will I do it? What was my accumulation factor from time 3 to 10? It can just be written as 323.63 divided by 500. No, sorry, just the reciprocal of it actually. So 500 over 323.63, right? Because this part is just my discount factor, right? This is my discounting factor. So accumulation factor is just the reciprocal of it, which can be obtained as the value at time 10 by the value at time 3. So what will this be equal to? It is just 1.544974, right? And now you can find the interest rate equivalent of it. So time 3 to time 10, it's 7 years, so it can be equated to 1 plus I to the power of 7. So I will come out to be equal to 6.411%, right? So that's my rate of interest, right? That's how it works. Okay, let's move on. Let's look at this next question. It says the force of interest at time t is given by this expression, that is delta t. Okay, it's in two parts, from time 0 to 5 and greater than 5. Determine the expression for the accumulation factor from time 0 to t. So I just need a generalized expression for the accumulation factor, that is a0 comma t. Now this expression, it depends on whether t is less than equal to 5 or t is greater than 5. So in either of the case, your accumulation factor, it's less than 5 or greater than equal to 5. Equal to doesn't matter really, usually, but then they have taken it with greater than, so I have put it with greater than, right? So either it will be less than 5 or greater than 5, and in these two cases your accumulation factor will be different. So let's try to model both of those. Let's see the first scenario where t is less than 5. So if t is less than 5, from time 0 to any time t which is less than 5, you will only accumulate with this first given factor, this first one, 0.08 will be your force of interest. So it just becomes integrating from 0 to t 0.08 dt, right? Which will just make it e to the power of 0.08 t. That will be your accumulation factor for the first t years if t is less than 5. So it just becomes e to the power of 0.08 t. That's your accumulation factor, right, between time 0 and t if t is less than 5. Now what happens if t is greater than equal to 5? If t is greater than equal to 5, then your accumulation factor would become, from time 0 to 5 it will be the first factor, and then from 5 beyond till t it will be the second factor. So what will be your accumulation factor from time 0 to 5? It would be integrating from 0 to 5, 0.08 dt, and then multiplied with, you will accumulate it further up till time t. Okay, so you will integrate from actually I should take it as s this time, so I'll just write it as ds. Here also it should have been ds. Okay, right, because your variable of integration and your values cannot be the same. That's mathematically wrong. Okay, so yeah, anyway, so for the first 5 years this will be your accumulation factor, and from time 5 to time t, which is between 5 and infinity, it's greater than 5, so this will be your accumulation factor. What will be the force of interest that I'll use? The force of interest that I'll use will be the second one, which is 0.13 minus 0.01 t. I'll use s again instead of t, ds. So for the first 5 years this will be your accumulation factor, and from beyond 5 you will accumulate from time 5 to t using this. Okay, so this is just a05, this is just a5 to t, and that just gives you a0 comma t. So now you can find this expression. It would just be e to the power of 0.08 s, putting in the values 0 and 5, plus integrating from 5 to t, so it would just be 0.13 s minus 0.01 into s square by 2, putting in the values 5 and t. Now let's just put in these values. It just becomes e to the power of 0.08 times 5 will be just 0.4, okay, into 0 will just be 0, plus 0.13 into t minus 5 minus 0.005 into t square minus 5 square. Okay, so what does this generalize as? This can be written as, you have got a 0.4 here, minus 0.65, 13 times 5, right, so that's 65, and you have got a plus, minus and minus becomes plus, 5 square times 0.05. This is your constant term. With the t you have got 0.13, so it's 0.13 t, and with the t square you have got this term, so 0.005 t square, right. So what is your final answer? I can just write it as, so this was 0.005, okay, yeah, so it just becomes e to the power of minus 0.125 plus 0.13 t minus 0.005 t square. Okay, so yeah, that's how it works. Okay, that's your answer. And as for the force of interest, the practical applications of it, remember, practically you cannot pay interest at every moment like we assume. So interest cannot be continuous, but it is used to approximate interest which is paid very frequently, like daily or weekly. It can be a good approximation for that. Okay, so that's the use of it. Okay, so that's all for this video. So thank you.